Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha Anjananandanam Veeram Janaki Shokanashanam Kapisham Akshahantaram Vande Lanka Bhayankaram. Ramayan. Usually, when you ask people the story of Ramchandraji or why Ramchandraji took avatar, the reply will be to kill Ravana. And that's the incident of today's class. Almost feels like culmination of the Ramayana, but in a way, it's not. But during the war, there's actually a lot of conversations that happened between Ramchandraji and Vibhishan or Sugriv, Hanumanji, and various people. And as we saw recently, that gets quoted recently in the attack, the Sindur attack. The Major General quoted a line from this war of the Ramayana. And so usually when we do it in ashrams, that bit gets fully skipped. All those war dialogues get fully skipped. But in the study of defense or warfare, all that information is there. And recently I did a talk for Adi Shankara Jayanti, and there was a gentleman who was talking about the Gita and how the verses of the Gita relate to the human central nervous system and endocrine system. And he was talking about how it's a different kick when you understand Bhagwan through the nervous system. And I thought, if you understand Bhagwan only, it's a kick. Who can understand Bhagwan? But what's fascinating is that our scriptures have this multifaceted layer. You can come to our scriptures as a captain, lieutenant in the army, and there's material here that can inspire you, but also educate you. You can come to the scriptures as a doctor or as somebody studying physics, and there's things in the scriptures that can actually educate you, further your knowledge in that aspect. And so when we talk about preserving this knowledge, it's from so many perspectives. Like, it's not just preserving that we want to get moksha and we should get moksha, because a lot of people will say, I don't want moksha. Okay, but there's so much other knowledge in here. Not only from all the science points of view, but today I'll talk about the more everyday point of view in the conversations that happen. So the last thing I think that had happened was Kumbhakarna was killed. Is that right? Is that where we paused? Meghnad was also killed. Before that, though, right? No, after. After. Meghnad was killed after by Lakshman, and we spoke about Vairagya. And the power of Vairagya and the strength of it. So now the only person left to fight on the side of Lanka is Ravana. And so he finally suits up and he comes into the battlefield, and he is resplendent to look at. Like, in terms of, I mean, every time we see pictures of Ravana, they make him look so ugly. And that's probably the sentiment, right? The ugliness of the heart is what's depicted in the ugliness of the face. But he wasn't physically ugly. Most Rakshasas were actually very good looking. And interesting that they had the power to make themselves look good looking. It's a siddhi, gets described here, right? So earlier we see Shurpanakha made herself good looking. And then, sometimes I'll think it was a siddhi where it's like some magic from Harry Potter. But no, you go to YouTube and you see these makeover tutorials. It's like that. Because the person will look one way, and then after this makeover of the foot, they look completely different. And now AI is very much here. It's not at our doorstep. It's made itself very comfortable on the sofa. The second thing you do, even on Zoom, there's a feature to make me look better. And so when we talk about this asuric power of making themselves look good, because we're so foolish and we believe first impressions. And actually, sometimes all you need is that first impression to get in. And then you work on people's weakness or distractions or insecurities. And that's asuric qualities, right? Like if you think about it, if advertising is such an exceptional example. So we don't want to see they advertise and then it pops, right? Because that's what they do. It will pop up on your screen that, some new fair and lovely cream. Imitation, I don't know too many things. So you'll just bear with me with my very basic examples. And then I switch it up, right? But in my head, there's already insecurity of I'm not good looking enough, or maybe that cream will make me look better. And then before I know it, I've bought a whole package for the whole year. Now we don't think of this as asuric. It's completely asuric. Because one, it's deceptive. Two, it plays on our weakness. So we think a person is asuric, but people are. All of us have some asuric qualities. When we are doing this, one, the minute we being deceptive, asuric. Two, the minute we playing on someone's weakness. And sometimes we think we're just teasing, it's just fun. But then if that person has an insecurity, then that it really pricks. So, what was I saying? This Vairagya. Why is Vairagya such an incredibly important quality? Because then the asura doesn't stand a chance. You can flash as many advertisements about cream in front of me. I'm not buying any. If there's the slightest attachment to, then the asura stands a chance. It's our insecurity plus, which will lead to desire. See, insecurity will lead to desire. And it's our desire that allows their asuric qualities to flourish. And they're flourishing in today's world. They're very much flourishing. Sattvic qualities also flourish, but asuric qualities also, we see both of them flourish. Okay, so Lakshman representing Vairagya, and I spoke about it at length in the last session, is this strength that we hold on to that assures success in battle. And the battle that we are fighting, so many battles we're fighting, right? So if we think of what battles are there in our hearts, I know I should do it, but I don't feel like doing it. One battle. Probably everyone every day goes through this battle, whether it be with food or sleep or spend money, don't spend money, or say this comment, don't say this comment. I know what I should do, but this is what I want to do battle. If I have Vairagya, I'll only do what I should do. Because what I want just won't have strength. Because Vairagya doesn't allow I want to be strong. then what other battles happen in our heart? I'm scared to do it. I want to do it. I know I should do it, but I'm scared to do it. Then Vairagya once again. How will Vairagya help with that? Because I'm attached to comfort. I'm attached to image. I'm attached to comfort zone. Yeah. And then Vairagya won't allow that attachment to stop me from doing what I should be doing. So Vairagya helps us conquer fear, helps us conquer desire. And then, of course, will help us conquer anger, because anger only comes because of desire. Will help us conquer jealousy because it comes up because of desire. Okay? And so ripple effect, look what a strength. It's like if you were to have one quality, Vairagya. If you can't have Vairagya because it's a really hard quality to have, Shraddha. But then know you're choosing the easier one. Not that Shraddha is also easy, huh? To have full, complete Shraddha means I will not fear at all. So Lakshman defeats Meghnad. Who is Meghnad? This asuric qualities we saw. He kept using so much Maya Vidhi. Means all those tricks Meghnad kept using. So now when Ravana comes, and I had all this started because he was good looking. Vibhishan actually feels so bad that Ramchandraji is standing on the floor barefoot. Why is he barefoot? Because he had to be in exile. So there were lots of rules about what's exile. One of it was he was barefoot. He said one of the Balvihar classes, when Bharat takes the Padukas, then one of the kids said, now what will Ramchandraji wear if Bharat took away his shoes? It's too cute. And then I said, no, but he had to be barefoot because it was the rules of exile. Then where did the Padukas come from? Kids are so alert, huh? I'm like, Bharat brought them because he wanted to take Ramchandraji back. I have to also think really fast sometimes on the spot as a Balvihar teacher. And Bhagwan only gives the answers. So Ramchandraji standing barefoot on the ground and without a chariot because he's in exile. And Ravana has this huge chariot decked in gems and full armor, so much kavacha and padding and bow and Ramchandraji standing on the floor with his Vibhishan is like this injustice of this. And this is where the Vibhishan Gita was taught, which I said we will do when we finish the Ramayana. And then the battle starts. But Ramchandraji doesn't go into the battle straight away. So it's so cute. Really, really. The image is so cute. It's like all the monkeys go charging into the battlefield, each one thinking, I'm going to kill Ravana. And so it's like, you think it's going to be a war like Mahabharata, but it's like suddenly this mountain of monkeys jump on top of Ravana. Each one punching and hitting and pinching and like pinching also, because that's all they could reach. This is why when during the Mahabharata war, when people asked Hanumanji how was the war, he said very boring. It's during Ramayana war the monkeys did. And so like Ravana's like throwing monkeys. Until he gets so annoyed that like Meghnad, he also uses Maya Vidhi, which means using Maya as a weapon. I'm going to do it 3 times. I mean, it goes on for a while, but we're going to condense it. So first time what he does is, interestingly, he fills the whole battlefield with Rams and Lakshmans. using Maya, just like how Meghnad had made Sita. And so the monkeys were like very confused, which is the real Raman, and like they don't want to fight because this could potentially be. But Ramchandraji removed the illusion like this, like within a blink. So it was like Ravana did it, like before even it could fully take effect, Ramchandraji defeated it. Then the second time what he did is he filled the battlefield with Ravanas. But that didn't work so well because all the monkeys jumped on each Ravana, and that's lasted a bit longer. And the third time, he filled the battlefield with Ghost and Bhuta Pisach, which actually got a bit scary for the monkeys. And then Ramchandraji had to come in and remove the effects of Ravana's Maya. So we're gonna go through it fairly quickly. The monkeys didn't succeed, or they weren't going to, right? Like Ravana does have that caliber of strength. I mean, we cannot underestimate Ravana. He had done so much tapas to Lord Shiva. And so obviously there is a lot of mental strength. And the amount of times it is said here that the battle is not fought with the body. The battle is always fought with our mind. And it's absolutely anything we do. The battle is always fought with our mind. Even you see these marathon runners, our brahmachari in London had run the marathon. There's quite a few clips of her here and there and that. But not only her, like so many marathon runners will tell you that when running, it's managing the mind. Because at some point they hit a wall. In running, they call it the wall, where they feel, I can't do it anymore. And so even if you've ran that amount before in your life, at that point in time, now you're just so physically tired and wow, I mean, I don't run at all. I'm tired thinking about how much they run. So obviously they're really tired. And then if they give in to that, they don't finish. And so much of the running of a marathon's got nothing to do with your legs or your ability to run or your ability to breathe or drinking water. It's got to do with pushing through that wall. And then apparently it goes, right? So it will last maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then like you're good. Like you're like, yay, I'm done. And then comes back. So the mind is like the battle really you have to fight is your own mind. And so Ravana's mind, we know, is strong. So the next person that goes is Sugriv, Angad. They were very, very strong. And they did fight. And at one point, I think Sugriv gave a particularly good punch, and Ravana even says, good punch. Like he's quite a good sport that way. And then Hanumanji seems to have the best duration of being able to withstand Ravana's onslaught. It was like they would fight and Ravana would defeat fairly quickly. Ravana would defeat. Sometimes the battle goes on a bit longer, but Ravana defeats. But Hanumanji was never, what's the word? Like, so Sugriv was knocked unconscious. The other monkeys were thrown out of the battlefield. Hanumanji fell, stood back up again. Like he was never put to the point of unconscious, which is in itself his strength. But the boon is that nobody's going to be able to kill him except Ram, so Hanumanji can't kill him. Then Lakshman goes. And the reason I bring this up is because Lakshman is fighting, and Lakshman does a really, really good job in fighting. He lasts even longer than Hanumanji. And at one point, Ravana shoots that many arrows at him that he does fall, but he stands up, and then he shoots the Brahmastra. And this is really beautiful, and we saw it even in the Mahabharata. People like Lakshman or Hanumanji, earlier we saw in the Ramayana as well, out of respect for the Brahmastra, they will allow it to have the impact it's meant to have. So actually Lakshman wouldn't fall. He's immune to the Brahmastra. Even Hanumanji is immune to the Brahmastra. But it's Brahmaji's weapon, and so respect to the weapon and respect to Brahmaji, they allow. So Lakshman falls, and Brahmastra will make you unconscious, so Lakshman's unconscious. And so, like you're thinking, again, like is Hanumanji going to have to fly back to the mountains? But this time, Ravana tries to pick up Lakshman now that he's unconscious, because then you can use it as a weapon against Ramchandraji. I've got Lakshman, right? Like war can be over if he secures Lakshman, but he can't pick him up. Ravana can't pick Lakshman up. Not even one finger of Lakshman moves. And we know Lakshman is Sheshnag, who holds the weight of this whole earth. And so heavier than the earth itself. And then naturally, how would anyone be able to pick it up? Which is, you understand, Ravana can't pick up Lakshman because he's the weight of the whole earth. Okay, you're all nodding so beautifully. Wait for the next point. So Hanumanji comes, punches Ravana, Ravana falls, picks up Lakshman. Yeah, we're all just nodding that he's the weight of the whole earth. Ravana shouldn't be able to. How come Hanumanji can pick him up? Like Aram say, picks him up, he takes him. How come? You all have to figure this out. Come on, think, use your brains. How come Hanumanji can pick him up? His round strength. Because he has round strength. Very good. Anything. Shraddha. Shraddha is very important and nice. Because Hanumanji's whole world is Ramchandraji, because he's in the heart. Hanumanji is also Guru. What's that got to do with it? Such a big clue I'm giving you. She's too cute. I have to answer. Vairagya only. Yes, Guru has Vairagya. Embodies it. But also that he has Ram strength, we're seeing as devotee. But Guru keeps, like, in Swarupanandaji tells the story often about how, well, everyone tells the story, but Swamiji tells it particularly in this point of view, where when Shivji spits out the poison, when Vasuki spits out the poison, then Shivji has to drink it. Right? Because all of us have so much poison in us. Whatever repressed anger we keep, or our more than anger, it will be like guilt and our regrets. And so we won't even know it's there because it goes into subconscious. Maybe our grief. So often, right? Like something horrible and then we didn't get time to grieve. You can imagine some mom with young kids and then she loses a parent. There's no time to grieve. These kids are crying and they're screaming in their school and there's this and then that. And so a lot of the grief gets, so all that, but all of that has to come out for us to be free. And it comes out as poison. Only Guru can take it. To bear that weight of all that poison, which is why Shivji holds it in his neck and why can carry any burden. Which is so nice also, right? Because there's that selflessness in the heart. Whereas Ravana is selfish, cannot carry burden. His own burden is too much for him, which is most of us. To carry someone else's burden, you have to have so much selflessness in your heart. So now Hanumanji brings Lakshman and puts him in front of Ramchandraji. And like I said, we're going to think how now what's going to happen. And Ramchandraji looks at Lakshman and says, Lakshman, you are no ordinary person. Wake up. We have to fight. And Lakshman wakes up. Are you all thinking what most people would think? Why didn't he do this earlier? Why you all don't say that? Last time Lakshman was collapsed, why didn't Ramchandraji just didn't say? All he said, exact sentence. Lakshman, you're not an ordinary person. These weapons cannot hurt you. Wake up. When Bhagwan wants Leela, they will be Leela. When Bhagwan's in a hurry, no Leela. And remember when they were both bound by the snakes, and then it was Jambavan's day to shine? Maybe some of y'all weren't here that time. Indrajit had shot them all and tied them up with the pasha of the snakes. So even Ramchandraji and Lakshman were tied up, and at that time it was Jambavan who called Garuda to free everyone, and Jambavan who fought Meghna, until Garuda came and freed everyone. Like Jambavan, who's like in his 80s, suddenly ready, full gung-ho. Like, the minute I say Hanuman, you say because it's Rama's strength. But that day, Rama's strength was with Jambavan. And it's like, there's nobody who can't have that same amount of strength that Hanumanji has. In that moment, if they surrender and they want it, that's what will be. So Lakshman gets up, and again they fighting, and then finally Ramchandra says enough, and he goes into the battlefield. And when he shoots up Ravana's head. The minute he shoots up Ravana's head, another one grows. Now they make so many movies like this, no? They got the idea from Ramayana. You're laughing, but Ramayana was written 10,000 years ago. It has to be from Ramayana. But Ravana had 10 heads. So like Ramchandraji would shoot up all 10 at the same time, and all 10 would grow. And he'd shoot up his hands, and his hands would grow back as well. And so, why? So, two reasons. One is the story reason. The story reason is that Ravana had done tapas to Bhagwan Shivji. And he had done so much tapas, and Shivji still didn't come and give him boon. So he cut one head and offered it. Then he cut the second head and he offered it. Till he got to the last head. And then he puts his head where the offering is and he cuts it, because then he won't be able to offer it, right? And only when that head's offered and he gets a boon, he gets a lot of power. But Shivji also gives this bonus boon of, if your head now ever gets chopped off, another one will grow. And so now it doesn't matter how many heads you chop off, Shivji's boon is going to be strong and another head is going to grow. So this goes on for a while until Ramchandraji looks at Vibhishan. Vibhishan tells him this, and then we pause here and we go to the story is also being narrated to Sita Ji and Ashok Vatika. Trijita has also, and then Trijita is saying that, every time Ramchandraji is shooting his heads, another one is growing out, so the battle's taking longer. And Sita Ji gets very dukhi and says, but why is he shoot somewhere else? So logical, right? And so Trijita is pacifying Sita Ji. Like, this is not truth. This is Trijita telling Sita Ji. He can't aim at Ravana's heart because you are sitting in Ravana's. And how can Ravana ever shoot you? Mm. So I think tomorrow what he'll do is he'll make Ramchandraji so stressed with fighting that Ravana so stressed that Ravana will forget you, and then when you're not in his heart, he'll quickly shoot the heart. So Sitaji's a bit at ease. But that's not the only place to shoot, right? Shoot elsewhere. So because Ravana had done so much tapas, and in a way she does give a clue to how to destroy Ravana. She says there's cosmoses in his stomach, and so to shoot that, you would shoot entire cosmoses. Now, this is Trijita pacifying Sitaji. It's not actually the reasoning that is going on in the battlefield. But Ravana's heads did grow back. The second reason is because we know that all of Ravana's heads represent desire. And the rule is desire leads to more desire. It's a universal law. And this is very easy to test. It can be the smallest thing of you eating chips. You desire chips, you put one in your mouth. It will lead to more desire. Of just that same chips only. But it can be big things also. Right? Now, they become president, then they still have so many desires. Like already you became president, shouldn't that be enough? No, they want to have spaceship, and they want to have jet, and then they want to have a cruise line, and then they want to... Desire leads to more desire. And it's interesting, in small ways, you'll see how it's addictive, because people will get a small tattoo, then they'll want another one, and they'll want another one, and they'll want another one. And desire just leads to more desire. Or plastic surgery. I'll just fix this. Then you want to fix this, then you want to fix this, then you want to fix this, then you want to fix this. And then they just keep going. Desire leads to more. And it's documented, huh? Tattoos and plastic surgery, it's documented how it's addictive and how something so expensive can be addictive. And life-threatening, because every time you go under anesthesia, your life is at danger. But still, for desire's sake, they will still, we do foolish things for desire. So the head grows back. You fulfill one desire or you destroy one desire, another one grows back. So next day, this is one of the, this really shows Ramchandraji's compassion. That they're fighting and Ravana faints. He gets up and he's fighting and he's really tired. You can see. And Ramchandra tells him, okay, enough for today. Let us resume tomorrow. You go rest. Like, who does that? Ramchandraji does that. Who is he talking to? Person who kidnapped his wife. Who's shown zero respect whatsoever, but still he has compassion. Somebody asked me today, how compassionate do you think you are? And I said, not very. Because most people create their own problems, like, you know. And they were laughing. This is compassion. Like, Ravana has definitely created this problem for himself. But you're tired, still go rest. This incident is quoted very often to depict Ramchandraji's compassion and glory. And so he does come back, and there's many times when Ramchandraji has knocked Ravana unconscious and the chariot driver takes him safely. back to home, and then they come. So this goes on for a few days until finally the devatas in the heavens start feeling really bad. After so many days, the devatas wake up to feel bad. What do they feel bad about? Ramchandra ji doesn't have a chariot. Ravana every day keeps coming in chariots, Ramchandra ji, and they all have gathered in the sky. They all throwing flowers on Ramchandra ji. They all praising Ramchandra ji for this whole war. Right? Since the war started, all the devatas have already collected with their popcorn sitting in the sky watching. Only now they think, well, they're not doing anything, so they might as well be watching. Okay, they had flowers they were throwing every now and then, but like basically they're just watching. Finally, they decide, oh, we should give Ramchandra ji a chariot. So on this last day of battle, finally, Indra Devata sends Ramchandra ji this beautiful chariot. And the first thing Ravana does, and so really these asuric qualities, when we think about Devic qualities and asuric qualities, because now Ramchandra ji is on the chariot, this whole time he hasn't been on the chariot, huh? But now, first time Ramchandra is in the chariot, Ravana's chariot got destroyed a few times. Even Lakshman had destroyed the chariot, even Hanuman had destroyed the chariot. Very similar to the Mahabharata, but I'm not going into that too much. Ravana shoots at the horses. Exactly. Like we're not able to defeat Ramchandra ji, so debilitate him by taking him back off the chariot on the ground. But Ramchandra ji never, hardly ever, I shouldn't say never, 99.5% of the time, Ramchandra ji doesn't show power. But when Ravana shot at the horses, he just swept his hands. And their injuries were healed. For this injustice done, he showed power. Like hardly ever, huh? Varun Devata, that time he showed power. But hardly Ramchandra ji will show his power. And then Ramchandra ji looks at Vibhishan, and Vibhishan says, the only way to kill Ravana is by shooting at the belly button. Because his stage or his source of power is in his belly button. And so in this last moment, Ramchandra ji takes 33 arrows at the same time, pulls his bow really far back, and shoots. And only one arrow hits the belly button. 10 cut off his head, and the others tear the body into half. So Ramchandra ji was making sure nothing grows back. Like this is now done deal. And Ravana falls. And Ravana's whole life, he never said the name of Ram. He only ever referred to Ramchandra ji as Tapasvi, or that beggar, or that some other names I think also he came up with, but he never said Ram. But the very last word he says is Ram. Maybe in that moment, finally, Buddhi kicked in. Or maybe it's Ramji's grace only. But the last word he says is Ram. And so from Ravana's body, the soul comes, that in the movies how they show. It flies over the battlefield and it goes into Ramchandra ji. But everyone could see it, not just mystics, just everyone in the battlefield could see that Ravana had now merged into Ramchandra. And so monkeys are ecstatic They celebrating and they dancing, and then Ramchandraji stops them. Because all the queens in the palace are crying. And even Vibhishan has just lost both his brothers. Even though they were victorious, loved ones were killed. Ramchandraji's compassion. So thoughtful. And so when the queens hear that Ravana is finally killed, of course they are all crying. And Mandodari says, it was his time to go because he would not listen to good counsel. And he's blessed that Ram is compassionate enough to have accepted his soul. This is Ravana's wife, who has just lost her husband. And what does she do? She praises Ram, even though he's the one that has just killed Ravana. And so you see, Mandodari never ever got deluded. If you think she's living in Lanka, which is so full of delusion, when Tara loses Bali, she's overwhelmed with grief, and she comes and tells Ramchandraji, that was unfair, why'd you kill him? Even though Tara had knowledge, she herself told Bali before he went into the battlefield, don't go. Ramchandraji is no ordinary man. But when she was feeling grief, Gandhavri in the Mahabharata knew her sons were wrong, told them they will die in the battlefield. Yeah. But when they did die and she was overwhelmed with grief, she curses Krishna. And that's just the nature of emotions, right? That in that moment, you're just feeling what you're feeling, and you can't see beyond what you're feeling. And so for Mandodari to still be thinking clearly in her moment of grief, and she's crying. It's written she is crying, not just crying, sobbing. And she's watched sons die, and now she's watched and brother-in-laws die, and now she's watched husband die. And so it's not just little bit grief. This is a lot of grief. And her first line is, it was his time. Death will only come when it's your time. And if it's come, it means it's your time. So that complete clarity. And then she says, because it was his time, we couldn't stop him from fighting this war. Otherwise, we would have been able to save him. And then second, praised Ramchandra for his compassion. And that's why Mandodari's name is taken with Sitaji's. For her to have this level of clarity and devotion, like Sitaji being devoted in Ramchandraji, is understandable. Totally, completely understandable for Sitaji to be devoted to Ramchandraji. But for Mandodari to be devoted to Ramchandraji, even having watched so much of her family be destroyed and still have that absolute faith. Look at how clean her heart is. This is wisdom. Lots of us know things. We hear scriptures and we know things. But when we hear how she's dealing with this is wisdom. Like she's living it. Her conviction is so incredibly beautiful. Ramchandraji looks over at Vibhishan and he says, you should do Ravana's final rites. And this is also, you see how sweet. Like Vibhishan wanted to remain loyal to Ramchandraji and he wanted to do the final rites, but he was too scared to ask in case Ravana, Ramchandraji thinks, who said are you on? But Ramchandraji would never think such a thing. And Ramchandraji only tells Vibhishan, now you do the final rites. Now, in folk tale, there's another story. I mean, here we've seen that actually there's no hope of Ravana still being alive because there was 31 arrows and the heads are gone and the hands are gone and the body's torn into two. But in some different versions of the Ramayana, it's the Ramchandraji shoots one arrow and it goes into Ravana and he's dying, Bollywood style. Then he can still give one full dialogue of 5 minutes before. So Ramchandraji tells Lakshman that he's a Brahmana and he's as a king. Go learn from him whatever you could. That's not in this. Most Ramayans don't have that. It must be in one Ramayan for the folktale to be there. That also shows Ramchandraji's compassion. Also in folktale, there's the story of, so Ravana is a Brahmana. If you all remember, it's his grandfather that took the palace from Shivji. Remember, the grandfather came to do the housewarming puja. And then Shivji and Parvatiji were supposed to move into the palace. And then Shivji said, what dakshina you want? And then he said, this house. And Shivji gave. And then Shivji said, okay, don't be upset, Parvatiji, I'll build you another house. And she said, no need, you'll give that away. Let's just go back and live in the mountain. Otherwise, we'd have to go to Lanka to worship Shivji, not Kailash. But Ravana's grandfather asked for the house and he gave it. And so if he had come as a priest to do the puja, then obviously they're Brahmanas. And so some stories say that by Ramchandraji killing Ravana, it was Brahma Hatya. And so he had to do tapas. And this is not in any of the Ramayans because actually Brahmana is by guna, not by birth. What does that mean? Who's a Brahmana? Doesn't matter where you're born. It's the purity of your heart that makes you Brahmana. Something like, during Navratri, they worship little girls because that innocence that is there in them is divinity. Or again in Navratri, we worship our mothers because the first place we find love and we took home in her own body before we entered this world. And so we see divinity there. And so actually, if you see the spirit of Hinduism, it's wherever you see divine qualities, there you see Bhagwan. So it's in our own mother or in very small children when they're still so innocent and pure, or very learned people who now have gone through so much and they soften I'm sure you've seen. Some people, as they age, they become more karus. But some people, as they age, you can actually see them soften. They're not so like now they're far more understanding and they're far more accepting and there's like this warmth that comes in them. We see divinity there. And so if the essence of Hinduism is to see divinity wherever we see divine qualities, then it can't be you're born in this family and so you're divine. It has to be that there are divine qualities in you and therefore you are divine. The story is there. And I mean, every story has a point. And remember, I said that there's so many different Ramayans. So I'm not saying it's not true. It's not there in Tulsi Ramayana. And so I don't know the details of that particular one. But we see how clear, like how much Ramchandraji thinks of everybody. And at the same time, maintains whatever he has to do. So then he tells Lakshman, after all the last rites are done, you coronate Vibhishan as king because he's still in exile and he cannot enter a kingdom. So he had done the same for Sugriv. I don't know if you all remember, right? He doesn't ever go into the kingdom because he is in exile. But he makes sure it's done. And Sugriv also already knows how to color it. And Lakshman knows, and then Hanumanji knows. So whole full party goes and helps do the last rites and helps to put Vibhishan on the throne. And then, so the story hasn't finished. There is still a bit more of the story to go. But next week I'm traveling, so there'll be a break. But in June, we're going to be doing the Bhagavatam from the 16th to the 22nd, and we will 100% finish Ramayana before that. Hopefully, like the day before. So that we don't have too many gaps in the satsang. To make up for all the gaps we've had, we'll do full 1 week Bhagavatam. Any questions?
Even in the Mahabharata, Krishna would do something with the horses, right?
Yeah, even Krishna looked after. Yes, even he would heal them. Literally sweep his hands over and heal them. Yes. But Krishna showed. In lots of ways, Krishna showed his powers. Krishna blocked the sun. I don't know if you remember that incident. Right. And then Chung, Sudarshan Chakra was on his finger. Like Ramchandraji doesn't do all of that. Krishna lifted mountain, danced on snake. Ramchandraji doesn't say. Even when people say, we know you are Avatar, Dashrath Putra Ram. Like very rare he showed.
It feels like the opposite. Like everyone knows Ramji's Bhagwan in the Ramayana, but in the Mahabharata, everyone's friends with Krishna. Like just one of the guys.
No. When we telling the story of the Ramayana, you all feel everyone knows Ramchandraji's Bhagwan. At the time they didn't. But it's also Treta Yuga. Ram Avatar is Treta Yuga and people are more in tune. Able to recognize goodness. It does appear to that everybody knows. But that's Tulsi Ramayana. If you read Valmiki Ramayana, they don't treat him as God. In Tulsi Ramayan, Mandodari wouldn't have said he's Bhagwan. He would have said Ravana was adharmic, and so, adharma is being punished. But in Tulsi Ramayan, everybody knows he's Bhagwan. Because Tulsi Das ji has that bhav. Yeah. And in Valmiki Ramayan, there's times where during this battle, Ramchandra ji gets so disillusioned and upset and stressed. And in Tulsi Ramayana, he's just smiling, very patient, very poised. But in Valmiki Ramayana, they show the whole roller coaster of emotions that anyone would go through. And most people wouldn't understand that you can have an emotion and not be under the sway of it. What do I mean? Like an actor on stage, right, can have so much emotion, but they don't feel anything. They're just invoking that emotion to portray it. Like actors will say, if it's a sad scene, they think of something that hurt them to help them to be able to cry. Yeah. But there's other actors who've just trained themselves to be able to cry. Like they don't even have to think of something. So they just invoke the emotion and depict it. So if you think about how an actor can just pull an emotion out and play it, but not really have it. Similar to that, when we reach a certain level of vairagya, the emotions are at the level of the mind, and the intellect is just watching the emotion. But I identify with intellect, and so I'm literally just watching the emotion. And so in Valmiki Ramayana, when it says Ramchandraji got nervous, and then he got upset, and then he got irritated, and then he got disappointed, it's human emotions happening because he's taken a human form, but it's not like he's overwhelmed with those emotions. At any given point in time, he'd still be able to do whatever he needs to do. And all of us have experienced that to a smaller measure, like with fear, like you can feel so scared, but when you have to do it, you kind of like, you just do it. Like you kind of just push the fear and just go. Right? To be able to do that with any emotion at any point in time, when you've reached that level of vairagya. So actually, it's not that emotions don't count, which is why Valmiki Ramayana shows the emotion. But most people won't understand that. And so Tulsi Ramayana doesn't show the emotion. I know a lot of you have to go, so we will conclude. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukhavag bhavet, asato ma satgamaya, Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritangamaya. Om Purnamada Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnamevachishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Yo Namaha. Hari Om.